Welcome to 32 Bar Cut, the show, a show where we talk with our friends about what it's like to be a performer. Today on 32 Bar Cut, the show, we are talking with the Lion King, Stephen Carlile.
It's time to welcome on our guest, my favorite by far, a Broadway star,
Stephen Carlile.
On 32 Bar Cut.
I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest. Today we are talking with the Lion King, Stephen Carlile. And although he plays a villain in the show, he is one of the more lovable and fun-loving people in the company of the Lion King on Broadway. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Adrienne. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited to chat with you. I've gotten a chance to see you a little bit virtually when we've been away from work, and that's always a joy. But I'm glad to have some time just to sit down with you, learn more about you, and have our listeners and viewers learn more about you too. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So how have you been? What have you been up to? What is life like post being on Broadway 8 times a week?
Yeah, it's different, isn't it? It's different in the real world. You know, I like it. I don't like it. I miss everybody. I miss the show. I miss, the people. I really miss the people. I miss you. I never thought I'd say that, but I said it. And no, I do. I really miss everybody. I miss having, all the camaraderie in our principal hallway and everyone else. I love it. But what's going on out here? All these moments that you wouldn't be able to have. Like today, beautiful snow. We were out in Central Park sledding, down, and that was glorious. And I never do anything like that during, when we're working, because there's always something. Either you're in the gym or you're having acupuncture or you're doing something, to get on that stage that night, So I, that's nice. And going out for dinner, when you can on a Saturday night, rather than we were up in Times Square, because they had opened up a little Italian pop-up in Times Square. And we were like, I was there right outside the Lion King where we would on a Friday night, 8 o'clock, but it should be going up. So it's like bittersweet, you're trying to make the most of it,
Yeah, absolutely. I can identify with that. When we first got the call that we wouldn't be going back to work, I was looking forward to the break, and it's been quite a while, and I feel like I've had to reinvent myself and figure out how to stay busy. But It's been really great to eat dinner together. Like Austin and I eat dinner together. We plan our meals, and we've never done that before, except for on Mondays. And then usually, you're too tired, or you're getting acupuncture, or you're getting a massage or something, or you're too scared to do anything like going sledding, because if you get hurt, you're messed up.
I know. It's like, Emily loves, she loves going ice skating and stuff. And I'd never do that when I'm working because, you crack an ankle that you're done. But now it's like you just do everything. Yeah.
Are you a good ice skater? Do you ice skate?
No. I can't do 12s or anything, but I can stay up and I can go round, but I can only go round going left or round the right-hand side. I can't actually go the other way.
The other way. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So you can go counterclockwise or?
Yes. Well, I can cross my feet over to the left, as in my right foot over to the left, but I find it hard going the other way.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't think I know enough about ice skating to quite understand what you're saying. I have roller skated. I've ice skated twice.
Yeah. Well, roller skating, and you just put your feet over, when you're going round a corner.
Yeah.
Rather than going, you go vroom boom, vroom boom, vroom boom. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So
to be brutally honest, though, I don't even now go ice skating. I say I just went ice skating, but it's a bit of a lie. Emily went, and I stood on the side with coffee and the dog Sugar. But she loves it, and I thought I just stayed on the side.
You're the emotional support on the side, cheering her on.
But I love skiing, and now this is a great time to be able to ski, because you're not allowed to ski when you're working either, because that's not insurable. So I love skiing. This is a great time.
Have you been able to go do that a few times while we've been off?
Not yet, but today is the day we're like, oh, come on, this weekend we must go upstate, we must go skiing. So just to do all those things, get it all out the way. So when we go back to work, boom, it's all about work.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's work and pleasure, and that's nice. But when the show opens again, it's work, work, work.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think that we're getting a special treat in that way, that we kind of get to rejuvenate ourselves. And then when we go back to
Yeah.
work mentally, I feel like we will be ready to go back because we'll appreciate it, and we'll be excited about going in every day and getting that paycheck, but also just
Yeah.
getting to have the routine again. So yeah, I
And
completely
also,
identify with that.
because you were saying before, we only ever had Mondays. And I always felt quite a lot of pressure to have a lot of fun on the Monday, on your day off. This is when we do this. But it's only one little day. And I just wonder now, when we do go back, it's not going to be work, work, work. That things are going to even out slightly. And we are going to have, we can adapt. We can, even just reading books now. I've read a ton of books this year, in the year that I never thought I had time to do before, but there must be time for work and pleasure, a bit more of a balance.
Yeah, that work-life balance. I wonder too, because if you could let our listeners know where you're from, after I say this little bit, but I feel like living in an American society, it feels very work driven. And do you feel like there's a difference between where you're from and having moved to America? Do you feel like the work-life balance is similar or different?
I don't. Yeah, it's tricky because when I've come here, I've only had to be completely. I've only had a visa to do the Lion King, so that's all I've been able to do, and it's been wonderful. So I had 3.5 years, and my excuses. All I do is that show. Whereas if you're in the UK and you can do everything else, you'll be taking like little bits of voiceover or little bits of, TV or another show, you go and do it, whatever, on your day off. Whereas here it's like I could only do that. So I've really enjoyed, having an excuse not to do anything else. I think, what are the differences? Because I'm from London. I live in London. That's where I was for like 20 years before I came here, because I went to drama school in London. But actually, I come from the West Country, in between actually just outside of Bath, if you know the little city of Bath. Very beautiful in the southwest. So it's only about an hour and a half away from London. Yeah, nowhere is very far away from London. Even Scotland, it's only like 5 hours. You get in a car, you could be there in 6 hours.
Wow.
The other day, I got in a car and I went up to Buffalo, and I was still driving in 8 hours. I was still driving, and I was still in New York State. Whereas in the UK, it's all very close. It makes touring really nice. It's not the same, when you tour in the US, you're a flight away. 3-hour flight would be the next town, In the UK, you 45 minutes would be. I've never flown actually anywhere in the UK. It's bonkers. You get in a car. Most places are 2 hours away, 2 or 3 hours away. So you can always get back on a Sunday night. So a tour in the UK isn't as daunting as a tour in the US. You don't see your family in the US, I think, probably for months and months. Where in the UK, you would see them every weekend.
Yeah.
And the West End is different to Broadway. Because it's so spaced out, Broadway is like one street and a few, one road, a few little side streets, full of theatres. And that sense of community that you get from that, because you always, you go out and bowl with everybody, or you sort of, you go and do your baseball. I've never done any of these things, but that's what happens. And so there's a real sense of community. But there are all these little bars that everybody goes to. And they all go there, don't they? Whereas the UK is slightly different. It's like there might be a bar, when I was in the Producers in London, there'd be a pub right opposite the Drury Lane Theatre, but very much the people from the Drury Lane would go there. And, a mile away somewhere else, there'd be another theatre, Her Majesty's, and there'd be a bar that everyone goes to from that theatre. So there isn't so much of a, people coming together as much. But, you've been there long enough. You do get to know people. And also, can I just say, people boo you. If you're playing the baddie, which sometimes I do, and I don't get it because, as you said before, I'm adorable. It's sort of weird that But if you play the bad in London, people boo you when you come on for the curtain call. Whereas here, they don't. They cheer, which I found very strange. The first curtain call I did.
So that's for our listeners and viewers who don't know, you originated the role of Scar. Well, you got your Lion King debut in the role of Scar in the
Yeah.
West End, right? And
Oh well, no. I actually toured it in the
oh,
UK.
you toured it first.
Yeah, I
Oh,
actually,
okay.
you're correct. I sort of originated the first tour of the Lion King in the UK, which is pretty special. No, the Lion King had been running for maybe 15, 18 years there before, or 15 years. And then, so I toured it. This was my Broadway debut was Scar.
And what I think is really cool, when we started working together, I think I had been in the show for 3 months or 6 months, something like that. And you came on the scene and I was called into rehearsals. And what struck me about your approach to Scar really is how you take on the physicality. I remember even without the mask and all of the stuff that you have to put on, we were just like in the lobby of the Minskoff and you're crouched and you're putting on, your physicality. How did you discover that for your body, and how do you approach that and keep yourself safe in doing that too?
Yes, I don't know. It just came naturally, that, because I didn't know how to play. It was like the first audition. That's what I went in. I did it like that. I went in. Casting director didn't want to see me for it. She didn't think I was right for Scar. And she was right, because the parts I'd always played for her were like, Viscounty, lordy type of parts, very upper class, straight, non-physical, very like, I'm the lord of this man, and then, but I didn't think of Scar like that, because I'd grown up with the movie, and I'd always seen that. And he was the manky cat, it was all like, everything was like that, And I loved animal studies at drama school as well. And I was actually an ostrich. Was I? Yeah, I was an ostrich when we did animal studies, but I love it, and also I'd never seen the show. And I had said I had, but I hadn't. Anyway, it didn't matter. And it was good that I hadn't seen it, because, and I didn't lie because for just the sake of lying. There was lots of reasons. I didn't want to appear that it's just, I couldn't ever afford it. I couldn't afford to go and pay top price, and it's still top price ticket, in London. I couldn't have. And so there was that. Plus, when it was coming up to it, I didn't want to go and see it because I didn't want to see what other people were doing with the character. So I went in and I sang King Herod's song from Jesus Christ Superstar. And just straight away, I was like leaning, going, Jesus, I am overjoyed to meet you face to face. And then I was and flinging myself about. And then John Stefanik, the worldwide resident associate, said, you are Scar. You are Scar. You're so sort of physical. I was going, oh yes, yeah. Well, good. And then, later that week, I was in front of Julie, and I was just doing all this sort of physical stuff, and they thought it was right, and they kept saying it's very unique, and I thought, oh God, is it? Is that okay? Is that okay? So, but that's that. Basically, watching the film, thinking about mangy, manky old cats, and but it's difficult with the costume, because you do it in like the rehearsal costume, and there's practically nothing. It's just like basically a leotard type of thing. It's very just a bodysuit, and then you put on the whole costume, and as you know, it's vast, it's huge. There's bits sticking out of you. So to get that manky mangy cat look, because and it works that I'm sort of very long and thin, all that. Just my first agent used to say, if I'd say, well, can I get an audition for that? He said, well, if anyone, if they want somebody tall, skinny with long arms, I'll let you know. And so because that's how it was. And but then suddenly, I started to utilize that physicality, my long skinniness. I mean, I'm not that skinny anymore, but I'm long, and I've still got long arms and long legs, so it works as Scar. But with the big chaps and everything, I really have to stick out. stick my hips out and legs out and like everything. And I try and work with the whole body as well, hold the mask, right up to the mask. And I touch that a lot, integrate the whole thing into the character.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Well, I've seen you do it, so I'm speaking to you like I don't know, but
I must come and see you one day.
No, I was going to say I could imagine that that's a lot on your body, because for me, I find that Nala is a lot on my body, and there are things that I did to maintain uh, my my physical health that I never had done before. Like I started getting weekly foot massages and going to acupuncture and PT and Pilates. And so were there any things that you had to implement into your weekly routine that you didn't have in your life before just because of The Lion King?
Oh yeah. I mean, all of that. All the things you've mentioned, I do all that. I've never had a foot massage ready for it. But
you're missing out. New York well, I don't know about right now, but New York is full of them. You're missing out. It's really good. Yeah.
No, I should. And there's so many on the way.
Yeah.
The acupuncture, I think, is fabulous. I'm quite lazy. I need to go to the gym all the time, and that makes me feel wonderful. But, it's just motivating myself to do that. Swimming, and I do it, but I'd much rather lie on a bed and have people stick needles in me, and then do the buzzy thing that they do. And that's my form of stretching,
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm a terrible stretcher. And Lindsay once said to me, "Are you stretching?" And I say, "Yes." She said, when did you stretch last? I said, 2 weeks ago. I did.
You're not to a dancer.
No, I know. But I am quite good about stretching. So I do go in like quite often an hour before I need to and have a real good stretch. Yes, you got to, as I said before, you've got to spend a lot of your day. Like, the gym really helps. If I play tennis, I love tennis, but it's a disaster, for the show. So I can't play ever.
Oh, wow.
Which is because I do something and suddenly you sort of your shoulder goes out or your neck goes out. My neck used to hurt a lot in the show, and now it doesn't. I do sort of lots of different types of stretching to make sure it's strong enough, because the mask isn't that strong, as you know, but it's you've got to whip it, you've got to flick it, fast, boom, boom, boom. And last time I was with Julie Taymor doing an interview, she was like manipulating the mask, and she's like, you just got to go slow, 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 and then boom, boom. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Before I got to
good. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, it is good. It's effective. What you do is really effective. It works. And I realized, like, before I got to The Lion King, I didn't really have like a lot of aches and things weren't popping. And now like my ankles always pop, my hip pops, my neck pops. And I'm like, oh, I don't think this is going away. This is just who I am now.
Yes, I've never been able to click my back. And I couldn't bear hearing it when people did. I thought, oh God, they're going to break. It's like that's going to snap. Now, if like I would get on the bed and I just roll over and it's boom, boom.
It's a bit of a release.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it feels good.
It is, but it must be, obviously something's breaking.
Yeah. Something is breaking down bit by bit. We don't know. We'll find out when we're 65.
Oh, yeah, I know. And then when I first started, I think Ben, Pumbaa, a few days later, he said, "Is anything broken yet? Have you broken anything yet?"
You've done other productions in the West End. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Well, when I was 24, when I was maybe 23, a few years out of drama school, I was in Phantom of the Opera. That was the first thing I did in the West End.
That's amazing.
And I was understudy to Andre and who else? Lefebvre. And I was 23. And this is when I was really skinny, very tall, very long, skinny. Anyway, so it was perfect for that. I did a terrible audition. And I basically forgot everything that I brought, not what they sent me, what I brought. And apart from the first song. So I did my first song. And then they asked for another one. And I did Funny from City of Angels. And they were funny. Da, 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 da. I couldn't remember I knew it, but then suddenly I was in the theatre and it was all the bright lights and everything. Anyway, but I was so bumbly and like posh, like, oh, this is awful. This has never happened before. Oh, dear gosh. Anyway, they saw the character in it, which might have been my genius. I can't remember if I did it on purpose or what, but I knew what Andre was, or whatever. I was like it. And then so they said, I think he's right for Andre. Send him the stuff for Andre. And I went in. I was like word perfect then. I was like very on top of it. And then I got that. And then I was in the producers in London, original cast, directed by, Susan Stroman and Mel Brooks,
Wow.
with Nathan Lane. And I was the lead tenor in that. And I was first cover, Leo Bloom and Roger Debris. And so that was an incredible time. And I was 25, and I was walking, and I bought this little flat and oval, and crazy. I mean, I couldn't afford it, but I got a great mortgage advisor. Brilliant. Probably a criminal, but and I got this place. And so I was like walking to work every day in the West End, doing this. And then I got there was a fantastic production of My Fair Lady that was at the National Theatre that was going out on tour. And I got Freddie Eynsford Hill in that. It was practically all-star cast apart from me. There was literally all 7 of the principals were very famous, UK people. And one was Pussy Galore from, Goldfinger. James Bond, one of the first James Bonds, and Honor Blackman. And anyway, they all became great friends, but I was like the only unknown person on this tour. It was hilarious. And anyway, so there, and the last thing I did in the West End was a show called The Go-Between, just before coming out to Broadway. I did a show called The Go-Between with my all-time idol, Michael Crawford, who was the original Phantom of the Opera in Phantom. And oh God, that was incredible. And what he's my idol because he when we grew up, he was extremely famous in the UK for doing this comedy character on television called Frank Spencer in Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. And it was hilarious. And it was like there was only 4 channels on television. So, and there was the ITV, it was the comedy one, and he was on ITV. And everyone did his lines at home, It became, a long-running thing that people would say in their homes. You say, "Ooh, Betty," and like various other things, but a great physical comedian and a sort of a clowny type character. And then like 20 years later, I was there working with him on stage.
That's amazing. I did not know any of this about you, really. I think we've spent after the show, I might have a drink or something with you and Cameron, and we just chat about what's going on in our lives now. And I really haven't had a chance to learn about your journey and your early career, because you kind of got like the golden ticket. You started out auditioning, and it seems like you booked something pretty early on, and it was an amazing something. Did it feel?
It was hard. No, it did not. No.
Okay. That's what I'm curious
really
about.
No, very difficult. And that was because I'd been out of drama school maybe 3 years or 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. And like nothing happened. Nothing happened. And I always knew that I was quirky. I think that was the thing. I was quirky. I was sort of, and I was good at most things, but not amazing, not really amazing. So it was difficult. And, but I was sort of vaguely entrepreneurial, and I came out and I started writing off to various things. And I did loads of work for no money, in pubs, pub theatres, doing plays in pub theatres, just trying to get your name about, doing all sorts of things. And then eventually you start sort of, getting to know people and making contacts, only with, people I really liked working with. And there was this one thing, I auditioned because I knew somebody and he was putting on this little production for the Covent Garden Festival, and it was a thing called Follow That Girl for Julian Slade. And Julian Slade was a huge composer of the 1950s, Andrew Lloyd Webber kind of fame, in the UK. And there he was like 72, and he'd written this thing. It was a huge success in the 50s. He wrote something called Salad Days, which was vast in the 50s. It was the longest running show of the 50s. That and The Boyfriend, they ran together. And anyway, so I was working with him and doing this little postage stamp, stage, which wasn't a theatre. It was just like a big room with long room, and all these people came to see it. And then, the next show I did, I was in that, and I became great friends with Julian Slade, and very wonderful, wonderful man, and who sort of took me under his wing in a way, and I lived with him for a while in Chelsea, and I learnt about gin and tonic, because I really wasn't a drinker. And then he started talking about gin and tonic. And he was a really kind, extraordinary, talented, lovely man. Anyway, but I did all these things. And so I was doing all this and getting to know people. And then I decided to put on my own show called Snoopy the Musical in this tiny theatre in Piccadilly Circus. And I said to my great friend, Stuart Piper, and we had been actors together for £50 a week, which is nothing, £50 a week in this. And I played the dog, and he played in Space Family Robinson. And it was a good production. And anyway, so we decided to put on our own show. And I'd been working front of house in this tiny little theatre because I'd been working there as an actor. And then when I wasn't doing that, I'd work front of house. And I'd seen on the calendar board, that Penny, who runs the theatre, still runs it, said it had 2 weeks free. And I said, could I have them? And she said, yeah. She said, what for? What for? Talks like that. Or London, what for? And I said, well, I don't know. I think I wanted to do the Fantastics because I did that at drama school. And I played the old actor and I loved it. Anyway, I couldn't get the rights for that. But Stuart said, what about the Snoopy the Musical? He had done it in a pub theatre in the East End. And I could play Snoopy and he would play Linus. And anyway, so we did that. And we had a great cast and we did it. And we got great reviews in London. And actually, were they great? They said one of them, a great big, reviewer came and said, I can't stand this production. I can't stand Snoopy the Musical, but it is good and they're good. So go and see it. And so everybody came to see it. And then we sold out, It's only 70-seat theatre, but, it's still, right in the heart of London, we sold out. But that sort of got your name about that. And then I got the audition for Phantom of the Opera, and then the producers, My Fair Lady. It all came from putting on that production, So it was hard, And then I had 3 years of really great, solid work, working with Mel Brooks, Nathan Lane, and then all those stars in My Fair Lady and stuff. And they came back and absolutely nothing, for quite a long time. Well, what felt a long time was probably 3 months. But I wasn't used to it. I wasn't used to it. And suddenly when you start, I don't know, being vulgar, earning that sort of money and that sort of success, and then you start living like that. And so, it's hard to remember, I've got to eat baked beans for a while,
Yeah.
But then I did, because I'd bought a flat, various commitments. I pretty much took anything that was offered. So I stayed in work for quite a long time. And then I just started to say no to things. And that was there's a lot of power in no, actually, because I normally just say yes to everything. And then I started to say no. And then Lion King came up, weirdly. And I had 7 months off, break. Not doing nothing, but, break. And then Lion King, and it was sort of life-changing because, it brought me to Broadway eventually, But was that the answer to your question? I forgot what the question was, but...
Oh, no, I mean, you answered the question. That was...
But, it was difficult. And, it was a hustle, those early stages, and even during, and, all the things that I did in between jobs later on, were all things that I learned from an early age, decorating, gardening and things. Because I used to cycle to my, nan's house in Trowbridge. I don't know, it might have been 7 miles away from where I lived, through the countryside. And I just help her out with the, her garden. And then, my mum owned toning table salons, when I was growing up, where, people would lie on these beds and they'd all do different things. One would shake your body about, or one would sort of move your legs around like that. And you'd have to hold a tennis ball in between your knees and stuff. And it was great sort of exercise for people who didn't want to go out and play tennis or anything. But when she was setting up these salons, I'd go and paint them, and I was only 8 or 10 or whatever, 12. But, we'd help decorate, and I used to love decorating my room and stuff, after that. Anyway, and singing lessons, I started when I was 16. And, singing now, I'm coaching, people in song singing. And so I've had 20 years of experience in singing lessons. Finally, I'm reaping those rewards. It wasn't all for nothing. And, but decorating I did in between jobs a lot. Sometimes when I was doing a play for not very much money in London, I'd be decorating people's houses during the day. Or, I'd have, these people I'd phone up and say, I can come and do your gardens, So I had these, the people I do gardens for. So it's incredible. So, whenever people say, what advice do you have? I'd say, get some sort of, not profession. I don't want you to go to university and then, do a master's and then PhD and stuff, but just have something not to fall back on, because it's not like you're giving up. It's just like in between, you've got to have a way of earning money. And restaurants are good, but I never wanted to be surrounded by people. And I didn't want to be and I did work in restaurants, a lot, but I didn't enjoy it.
No, it's really stressful too. If you're in a busy restaurant, you have to learn the menu. You have to learn the art of how long, what does your table need? Do they want you to hover? Do they want you to leave them alone? Like, I don't think that I was a great server. I think it definitely depended on my mood that day, if I was hitting the mark or not. And I found myself dreading going in. But I think what's really great about having to interview for jobs like that is figuring out your people skills, and figuring out how to talk to different types of people, and just working on your interview skills and being upfront and honest, because I would find that it was always better in the interview to say, hey, I really am a good worker. I'm a good worker. I say that now, I'm a terrible server, but no, I was like, I feel like I'm going to be an asset to you, but you should know that my main goal is this, that my main goal is acting. And so I will need some flexibility there. But when I'm here, you've got me, and that seemed to work. And then people hire you and they're not confused when you're like trying to find someone to take your shift so that you can go to an audition that morning or something like that. But it is a challenge.
Well, you're very good, because when I was there, I worked in lots of restaurants, but this one in Richmond I worked with just after drama school, and we were living in Richmond. And there was this great restaurant on the river, beautiful. And I was never very good, because I was like, no, I'm an actor. I don't do this. Although I was there for a long time, but, but I'd never really looked at I knew, we went to you get to learn about the foods and the stuff and the like, but I never really took it in. And one of my first days as a waiter, I came out, there's gazpacho, on the thing, and I bring it out and I give it to this table of 6, and this guy takes one sip and I goes, my soup's cold. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. and I picked it up and I took it back, and and they explained in the kitchen, no, gazpacho is cold soup, and I came back, and they're all laughing at me. They're all laughing.
Oh,
I
no.
thought I really must pay a bit more attention to
that happened to me too. I was waiting tables at an Italian restaurant, and I hadn't grown up with a lot of Italian food. I didn't know much of the different names for the sauces and what they were supposed to look like. And this one table had ordered a carbonara, and the kitchen got it wrong. And I didn't know. So he told me this was the order. So I brought it out, and it was a red sauce. And I set it down, and she's like, I ordered the carbonara. And I thought, oh, I'm so sorry. And I didn't know, because I didn't know, And now I know. I'll never forget what it's supposed to look like, but It's interesting when you're not really passionate about something, but you still have to do it to survive, that you just make it work. And you
Yes.
have those blunders and you learn from it. But I mean, waiting tables is a great way to study people too. You have all different walks of
It's
life
great,
walking
and it's
in.
your audience. It's your audience. You go out on
Hmm.
the Lion King stage. It's the same. It's the same people. And it is a great way. And I was always very good at apologizing.
Yeah.
Like I'm a great apologizer. Whatever it's for. I mean, my marriage, Emily would say, I just apologize for everything. It's just for an easy life. And but they were very like the managers would say, oh, could you go and apologize for it because there's some delay or something? And I'll just go over and say, I am terribly sorry. I am we're having such and whatever it was. And they would always like just appease the situation.
Yeah, it can fix a lot of things.
We just I just saying sorry is like very easy.
You
And
do?
no. I'm just saying apologizing is just, it's not, it calms everything down. One
Mm.
time I was cycling from my flat in London up Park Lane, and I undercut somebody on their bicycle. He was sort of far out, but I undercut him. Now that was a very bad thing to do, not even in retrospect. As I did it, I thought, this is a bad thing to do. I should do this. But anyway, he was going slower than me, and I went up there. I didn't want to go out there where the buses were. I went undercut. And he started shouting at me, shut you, saying all this stuff. And I thought, oh, God, that was a bad thing to do. And I got up to the top, and he went past me. I stopped at some lights. He went past me, and he was shouting, and I just said, I'm really sorry. And he went, oh, okay. Just carried on. It's just like, it's so easy to do. Just apologize,
Oh,
especially if
wow.
you're on the wrong.
Okay, well, I'm gonna take that with me because I actually find it really difficult to apologize sometimes. I don't know. I'm just think maybe I'm too proud or stubborn to give whoever deserves the apology that. And I'm working through it. But like
Right.
even with
It's a
with
lifetime mission. Work through it.
yeah. With having Austin as my husband, but also a music director in the business, and having to rely on him sometimes for auditions and things, we have gotten into it.
Mm,
And we've had to learn what that balance is like as a couple, but also working in the same field and wanting to offer each other advice and everything. And I know that
mm.
Emily is a director, so
Yes,
you have
yes.
this director actor relationship. What is it like to live with
Mm,
someone who is in a directorship position, and when you're doing like self tapes or anything like that, what is that like?
mm. Well, it is great because I've never really liked being with other actors.
Mm,
But a director is a good balance because one, they understand. It's the same with you and Austin. They understand, that your main passion is work. Where you've got to work. It's all about the work, them and the work. It's
yeah.
really, really important. And the balance. You're out late, you're home late. You go to bed late. The work hours. That's all brilliant. And because she's very brilliant. She's very brilliant, so intellectual, so clever. And so when it's all about. I've discovered, as and when you want the help. So
Mm,
I know what I'm going to get. So if I ask, you know, I've got to want to know the answer.
yeah.
Otherwise I don't ask if I don't want the answer because I know she's going to give me great help.
Yeah.
And it means, oh, I'm going to have to record that again then, or just send it out like that. But if I go through lines with her, she's just brilliant. She's brilliant because she'll read a scene. She'll know everything about it. I'll read it. I barely thought anything about it apart from, oh, that was nice. It was funny. But she'll see so many things in it that I haven't seen. So that's brilliant. That is extremely useful. And she just knows about stuff. So, if I have a gazpacho moment, she'll pull me up on it and say, before I'm out there next to the table, it's before I'm there, she'll say, by the way, remember the soup's cold, And so it's brilliant. It's actually brilliant. It's the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would have to agree with you. I feel like it, even though we've had our bumps along the way with navigating what our work and life relationship is and how they flow together.
Mhm.
I mean, and it's not just because he's sitting right here, but I do find that Austin is an asset when it comes to my career and having someone I
Yeah.
can really uh
Mhm.
ask for advice, and I can, you know, push ideas off on him and get his thoughts on that. And, even down to like what I might choose to wear to an audition. I'm like, what do you think of this? This character's this way. What do you think? And it's good because I have in the past had relationships with folks who are outside of this world that we're in. And it can be a struggle because they don't understand the lifestyle, or they don't understand that, you're either all in or you're
Mhm.
not, you can't do it, And so if you have a partner that understands that and how dramatic that can be sometimes, it's
Yeah.
an asset for sure.
And it really helps when they're, and Austin's so successful. He's brilliant. He's a genius. And the same, Emily's brilliant. So it does help that they are, very, very talented.
That is true. That is true. Because the flip side of that is not to say you're with someone that isn't talented, but maybe someone that's still
Mm.
waiting for their moment. It
Yes,
can
you've
be
got to sort of
difficult.
respect them,
Yeah.
to get that, get the notes that you don't really want, and then you
Yeah.
get them, and say, "Oh, yes, you're absolutely right about that."
That's a good lesson. That's a good lesson. So we are winding down a bit, but I know you've been doing quite a few things online. There's quite a few places people can find you. Would you like to tell us what you're up to and how we can find you during this pause from Broadway?
Yes, the full. Well, I've been working quite a lot. I've been doing these sessions on Airbnb,
Oh
and I've
yeah.
become an Airbnb experience. This happened in December, and I had a wonderful December. So busy with all these corporations and then singularly people come on, and for private events, might have 10 people, and I give people a warm up, and we talk about the West End and Broadway, and then we sing through a couple of, either my favorite songs or their favorite songs, and it's been incredible, and I've loved every single minute of it. So that's one way. And I sort of pepper it with the anecdotes of, all sorts of things that have happened. So there's that. And I've been coaching one-on-one, lots of lovely singers across the world. The great thing about, the internet and the Zoom is like I see people from, China and Japan and California and the UK. It's marvelous.
That's amazing. So can people reach you? Should we find you on Instagram, or how do people find you on to do
Oh,
private
yes.
coachings?
Yes, Instagram at Carlile1, Carlile, or you can email me at my production company email. Do you want that? Should I say that out loud
Um
or write it down?
it's up to you. Is it public, or do you want to keep that to yourself?
Well, I want people to phone up and say I want a
Yeah, then go
one-on-one.
ahead. Tell us. We'll drop it
Well,
in.
it's Carlisle Productions Inc. at gmail.com.
Lovely.
Or they can go to Airbnb, and maybe we'll drop that down if that's okay. So I
Yeah.
don't know what the link is.
Okay, we'll drop that in for
HTTP.
sure.
Yeah, and that's a really fun session that we can have, and they're always completely different. I've got this sort of formula of we warm up, we sing, Q&A, that sort of thing, or we can have a mini concert type of thing, and I'll just sing at you. If it's your birthday or something, we'll just sing your favorite songs. You can sing.
Oh, I love that. And I can attest that Stephen, even virtually, is a phenomenal performer and very, very, very entertaining.
Adrienne, so kind.
Well,
I'm
I'm
going to
not the
remind
best
you of
liar.
that when we're back.
Oh, I
We're
have
back
to.
in the-
Well, see, I can be kind to you now because we're off from work, but right when we're back at work, I'm going to treat you the same as ever.
We're back to normal.
Okay.
Good, because I missed that, Adrienne. And
I
like
know
didn't
I'm
hold on.
much saucier at work than I am when we're on this break.
I
Okay.
just noticed you've got "Life's Not Fair," is it? At the back?
Yeah. You know what? I always do a quote back here just to see if our guest can notices that it's, something to do with them in some way. So I thought
What a
that was a good
lovely
quote.
touch. What a lovely touch.
So we're getting into the stage door round. I'm going to ask you a few questions and you just, answer whatever comes to mind. It doesn't matter what you say. It can be a long answer, short answer, but there'll be just more direct questions and not so much a conversation. All right.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay. So what is your favorite thing to do in New York City so far?
Walking around Central Park and feeding the birds.
You feed the birds?
Love it. Love it.
What do you bring? Bird seed or bits of
Yes.
bread? A bird seed? Nice.
Bird seed. And now, I don't know if it's a good thing to do, but so this new trend, and everybody's doing it. It's wonderful. And the birds come and eat out of your hand. The little, what are they called? Mice, titmice or something like that. The tiny little grey things, glorious. They come up and it's just wonderful. I love it. Today, I saw a hawk, a red-tailed hawk, two of them in the thing above. I'll put it on Instagram later. And it was stunning. I've never been so close to it. It was beautiful in natural habitat. And it was so snowy, an inch, a foot and a half of snow everywhere. It was magical. I've never felt so magical, actually. I
That
said
is
it 3
incredible.
times at my walk. Yeah, so that's probably at the moment, if I was to say something straight away, it's walking around Central Park. I love going around the Ramble. And every single time we've been going, me and Emily go with dog, Sugar, every single time, it's completely different. I don't recognize it. I think, where am I going? And it's like, I've been there so many times.
That is awesome. Oh my goodness. We live near Prospect Park in Brooklyn and I go walking. I try to go every day with Bella, but when the weather's rough, I don't take her. But there's nothing like being in a park covered with snow and the trees are heavy and it's quiet.
Yes.
I don't know why it's so quiet, but but it just seems like there's fewer people out and there's a silence and a stillness and you just see life happening. It's really beautiful.
It's so beautiful. But you must be careful of walking under branches if there's loads of snow on it, because if there's an old branch, slightly rotten, they tend to fall. So always keep that in mind when you're walking under trees and through trees.
Oh, I will. Thank you for that.
These parks are really well kept, but eventually the branches do fall
Yeah,
if they're not chopped off beforehand.
that is a good tip. I know that I guess you've been here for 4.5 years.
Yes.
Has it been about
Yeah,
that
just
long?
over 4, yeah.
Is there do you miss home? Is there something that you miss about being in London and that vibe, or are you a New Yorker now?
I do. I've started to miss New York, London. Why? I've always missed my family. I really want to see my family, and it's been like over a year since I saw my mum.
Wow.
Normally, she comes over quite a lot. I go, so that's a struggle. I do miss, weirdly, the weather. It's always so damp over there, which is what when I came here. I thought, it's all so dry.
Yeah.
I love it. And now it's sort of I'd like just to experience the dampness. Not great for your knees, or anything, but it's just that, and the wood smoke, from the fires and the wood. I do miss, I miss that, and I miss my family. Yeah, but really, I adore New York. I adore it.
I'm glad you adore it. I'm a Southern girl at heart, and so there's nothing like going back home. And I think it's just because it's where you're from and it's familiar. I don't know that there's anything particularly special about Jonesboro, Georgia, in that it's just familiar and where I'm from. And I feel like my skin is better when I'm home. I don't know why, but that's interesting. Okay, so what advice would you, and you've kind of already answered this, but I'm curious if I ask more directly, what advice would you give your younger self? Could be high school
Oh,
age, early
my
20s.
younger
Yeah.
self.
Mm-hmm.
Golly. I, oh dear. What would I say? I'd say work harder. Work a bit harder. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be lazy. I
Mm,
say to myself, yeah, work a bit harder. Like, those, oh, if ever an audition has gone really bad, it's because haven't been fully prepared.
mm,
It wasn't until I was like in my 30s, and I started to go. There was one audition that went really well. It was because I hadn't left the
mm,
house ever since. In the whole week preparing for it, I hadn't left. It was just all about that audition, all about. And then I got it. It was a brilliant audition, and I got it. And I thought, I should have done that all the way through. But you know what? If I changed anything, we wouldn't be here at this moment. I love this moment. This is
mm.
a great moment, being here and in the show with you guys and all that. So, would I change anything? No, but if I've had big regrets, it's because I haven't worked totally hard enough in my early life.
I can identify with that so much. I feel
Really.
like there's been so many times where something uh came a little more simply, or I hesitate to say easily, but it just felt like, oh yeah, that's enough. And I
Mhm.
would walk in and it would be enough. And so that's
Mm.
almost not the best lesson to learn, is that you do just the bare minimum and you still make it, and you do the minimum and you still make it. And
Mhm.
you learn that you don't have to do as much to get what you want. And then when it starts to get harder, it takes a minute for you to realize, hey, you got to
Mhm.
do more. You got to invest a little more time. Maybe you should be more prepared.
Mm.
Maybe you should have stayed up another 2 hours to be off book for this. And uh,
Yeah.
now I feel it. And I don't think that it's a lack of being hungry. I think you've been working
Yeah.
towards your goals most of your life. You've been hungry, but maybe
Mm.
it's your charm or your charisma that opened doors. And
Well,
and
no, I think you're right, and I think that my big problem in my 20s was when I was at drama school. I just relied on charm. I didn't work very hard. I relied on charm and charisma, and I'd go on stage, and there was an audience. I just thrived. I loved it. But you don't have an audience, and then you're also surrounded by people who know you very well after like 3 years of being there. But if you're walking into a room, full of strangers for Cameron Mackintosh, they don't know who you are, and they don't want to take the risk
Mhm.
if you're not fully prepared. But you're like, oh, but look at my charm, look,
Yeah.
you know, they don't want to take the risk. So that was difficult. I think for a long time through my early 20s, I was thinking, oh no, it's all right because I'm charming. I'm charming. But it doesn't work. You've got to be very, very prepared. Which is ironic because of my song.
I know. Every
Prepared.
time every
But
time we've said that, I've always wanted to giggle a little bit.
yeah, so that wasn't ideal. But there's what I knew I could put it at the back, but it's all about being absolute, word perfect. You know who the people are on the panel. You know where the show's from, what it's talking about, or the play, or you know.
Yeah.
So I have learned, but it took me a long time, into my 30s, and it was basically because I was living with an actor who was brilliant. He was at the Royal Shakespeare Company, and he said, when he started to get successful, it's because somebody said to him they wouldn't leave the house when they got an audition. Like I sort of said about myself, they wouldn't leave the house. Every moment until they went on was like studying and their script or songs or anything, all geared up, researching the people in the room, the play, and that was a huge help. As soon as he said that, I thought, so every audition since then, weirdly, I've been very, very prepared. I might not be right for the show, but I was very, very prepared.
Yeah. Do you find that after that there's a sense of accomplishment? I feel like
Yes.
when I really have, I feel proud of
Yeah.
it, then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that felt good. And even if I don't book this, I feel good about
Yeah.
what I just did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You walk out. Yes, the worst thing in the world is walking out and thinking you've just wasted that opportunity. What a waste. That's a horrible feeling. But when
Mhm.
you come out and they say that was a really good audition,
Yeah.
but you come out and, I mean, actually, I've never had that. Then I haven't got the job, actually. But them saying that. I remember Mel Brooks shouting. I walked out of the room. He was in the auditorium and I could barely see him. He said, "That was a very good audition."
Oh,
And I walked out
wow.
and I thought, I was only 24, I thought, oh, wow, hopefully that means I got it. And then I did, it's crazy. It was wonderful. But even then, I got it. I didn't know what part. They said lead tenor or storm. They was told Stormtrooper number 1, and I thought, I don't know what that means. And I knew the casting director really quite well. And I'd gone to New York. I think we were raising money for Snoopy to put it on in London, in a bigger theatre. And we went to New York and we went to see the producers, met Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick afterwards. And I came back and I said to the casting director, I said, I saw the producer. She said, did you see your part? And I said, oh, well, when I saw it, I don't know. She said, you're the lead tenor. And I said, what does that mean? She said, you sing Springtime for Hitler. And suddenly I think I went, Ash, why is she? Oh, God, crap. Anyway, so I got the job, but I didn't know what I got.
That happens sometimes. You don't know what you're getting into till you get there, but it sounds like it was still an amazing experience anyway. Which is great.
It was wonderful. When we got into it, it's just incredible.
I have a fun question I want to ask you that I ask everybody, depending on what cast they most recently were in. So for you, in the cast of The Lion King, who would you slap? Who would you hug? and,
That's awful.
and who would you take to lunch?
Oh, dear. That's terrible. No, I couldn't say the first one. There isn't anybody I'd slap.
Not one, not a soul.
With you on occasions, Benita. Oh dear. No, there's nobody I'd slap. Sometimes, no. There's nobody I'd slap. I can't say it.
Okay, all right.
Benita, I'd say Benita because that's just easy. Whenever she's shouting at me, I'm like, I would never use brute force. What was the next one?
Who would you hug and who would you take to lunch?
Oh, well, golly. Oh, I just remembered who I'd slap. Tom Reynolds. I totally slapped Tom Reynolds. Stage manager Tom Reynolds. Cameron's in there. Cameron, I just adore Cameron. Don't tell him though. Don't tell him. Adore him. Would I take him to lunch or give him a hug? I'll probably take him to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Who would I hug? Well, I love Arabella. Stage manager.
Yeah.
Love the stage management. We're so lucky
We are.
with our stage management. They're just bliss. They're brilliant. Very good. Hug Arabella, slap Tom, take Cameron for lunch.
Done. I love it.
Boom.
Stephen, I have had so much fun with you. Are you sticking around for the curtain call?
Of course.
All right.
Oh, actually, J-Bo's got to be in there.
Then what would you do?
Can I
hug J-Bo?
J-Bo.
Yeah. He'd give you a really good hug too. I can see that happening.
Yeah. Okay. J-Bo hug.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll hold Arabella's hand.
So we are going to see you back at the curtain call. Thanks so much for staying on. Thanks for chatting with us. I've learned so much about you, and I am ready to hear a little bit more.